But first of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming down here, giving up your own valuable time as trade union activists. It's a part of a very big struggle, a very big movement, which is over 100 years old, well over 100 years old. And being no doubt that the struggle of Jim Larkin, the anti-austerity marches, the anti-apartheid marches, the tax marches, the Dunn Stores dispute, the water charges, the Baton charge in 1913 on O'Connell Street, the 1916 revolution, they're all part of the same struggle. They're all Irish citizens and Irish workers fighting for justice and for fairness, and we will continue to fight. We will fight Tesco, we will fight Marks and Spencer's, we will fight Primark, we will fight Dunn Stores until we get justice. And I can tell you, any company that doesn't value its workers, and particularly its long-serving workers, any company that doesn't value its workers values nothing, and they don't deserve our support. We don't care what the odds are, who's lined up against us. We're going to stand behind the working class of Ireland and the working class retail workers. Put his speech in my pocket out of the way. Sorry. I'd just like to thank Patricia King again for coming down and spoiling her weekend and being with us here today. I thought her speech was excellent. It shows the high esteem that she holds mandate activists in, and the trade union movement hold mandate activists in. I'd like to thank all our guests. Many of them, too many to name, but I'll definitely leave out some people. Many have travelled from far abroad. Many will arrive tomorrow. You're all very welcome. I hope you enjoy yourselves. We're a good crew. We normally have a good time most times. We behave ourselves most times as well. Bloody glasses, getting old. So this is a very special conference. It's to celebrate not only the trade union movement over the last 100 years and its role in the formation of this state and the formation of a republic, because both unions which formed Mandate Trade Union in 1994, I came from the Bar Workers Union, but both unions that formed Mandate Trade Union in 1994 had a very strong tradition, both in the labour movement. Michael O'Lahan, the General Secretary of the IDATU, was one of the founding members of the Irish Labour Party, and my own president of the Bar Workers Union, Patrick Moran, he was the president. He was executed by Crown forces in 1921 for his role in the struggle for Irish freedom. So those two traditions are intertwined within Mandate Trade Union and always will be intertwined within Mandate Trade Union. And as Connolly said, the cause of Ireland is the cause of labour, and the cause of labour is the cause of Ireland. So they understood it then, and they knew that every trade union movement and every workers' collective needed a political expression. And we do need a political expression. And we've had that political expression. I believe we've had it for the first time in a very, very long time. We've had it with the Right to Water campaign, which brought together a number of progressive unions, the CWU, I see Steve Fitzpatrick, the General Secretary here, the Plasterers Union, Unite Trade Union, the CPSU, brought unions together and campaigned in local communities, built local structures in local communities, communities which felt alienated completely from the trade union movement because of high unemployment, because of a hostile media. We brought those people back onto the streets. And listen, it wasn't about water. It wasn't about only about 100, a cap on water charge or 100 euro grant for conservation. It was about more than that. People had taken enough of austerity policies. People said, listen, water is the battlefield we will fight on, but this is about more than that. Hence, the Right to Water movement turned into the Right to Change movement. And we have made a significant change in Irish politics. Never before have two right-wing Civil War parties been forced to talk to each other to form some sort of a cobbled-together government. Never before have we had so many left-wing progressive TDs in Dáil Éireann who can form and should form a progressive and effective opposition, leading eventually, I believe, to a left-wing government which will implement policies that Patricia King spoke about, that you'll speak about today in terms of the motions you pass today and tomorrow. And that's what we need. And this is the first time that's happened. And it's happened because of one reason. It's happened because we mobilised, because we start speaking the language of the streets. We start going back out and connecting with our members communities and our members' families. And that was extremely important. The vision of the proclamation, the vision of a fair Ireland and an equal Ireland, it still remains largely unfilled because basically the status quo, be it the political status quo, the economic status quo, the religious status quo, hijacked the revolution after 1916. The first Dáil met in 1919. It has one of the most progressive work programmes. Talk about the Right to Change programme. The 1919 Democratic programme is one of the most revolutionary documents ever. And that was the result of the first Dáil in Ireland. It was never implemented because the powers that be decided they would kill it at birth, and they took it over. We are now charged as trade union members, as community activists, as political activists, we are now charged with ensuring that the democratic programme of 1919, modified as it would have to be for today, is implemented in its full. And that means decent housing, decent social housing for everyone who wants a house, decent education for everyone who wants an education, decent schools for everyone who wants schools, not based on your ability to pay, not based on your salary, not based on where you live. Everyone should have open access to all public services. We need a social wage. Tax is not a dirty word. Tax is a tax on the rich. Tax is a social contribution. It pays for our schools. It pays for our welfare system. It pays for our hospitals. The promises made in the last election by a number of the major political parties who are now talking to each other about cutting tax, about cutting UFC. Yes, they want to cut it because the people who fund those parties don't want to pay UFC. They don't want to pay tax. They want to offshore their wealth because they know that if they can get a popular vote and they can run down social services and they can run down hospitals and they can run down schools and they can run down all the things we need, refuge collections, water, etc., they'll privatise it. And they'll put toll booths on them, as they do. So you'll pay for your water, you'll pay for your schools, you'll pay for your education, you'll pay for your hospitals. And that's their plan. And we've stopped them dead in their tracks in relation to water. But it wasn't only about water. So it's very, very important that we don't see tax, and we don't see tax other than a social contribution. We don't fall into the same trap that the capitalists want us to fall into, demonising social contribution. Because that's what they want, because they've got millions to hide and stash away. As Tricia mentioned, be it WikiLeaks, be it LuxLeaks, be it the Panama Papers, they're hiding billions around the world. There's brass place companies down in the financial services sector with no employees, with no desks, that millions and millions of euros run through them on a 24-hour basis. It's money laundering. That's the only name for it. There's a corporation tax system here which is supposed to be 12.5%, the most attractive nearly in the world outside Panama and kind of places like that. Did he pay 12.5%? If they did, we'd have loads of schools, we'd have loads of hospitals, we'd have free this and free that. No, they don't. They pay on average less than 2%, and most of them pay zero. Zero. Now, bar you mention that, you won't get any airtime, you won't get any time on television, because you'll be said you're a traitor. You're going to rush those jobs out of the country. They'll all leave. You'll fly to capital. They'll be off somewhere else working. They are operating here. They're reaping the rewards of our education system. They're reaping the rewards of our workers. They're reaping the rewards of our infrastructure. And they're not making any social contribution. So whether they're robbing our tax dollars, the American tax dollars, the African tax dollars, they're robbing the social wage of other countries. And they should be forced to pay a decent contribution in Irish society.
Hear, hear.
I was just thinking about the Tesco dispute and what you could say about it. Jerry, I won't steal Jerry's thunder. He's going to say a lot more than I'm going to say. And that normally means that I would say everything he's going to say anyway. So, but genuinely, I started in the union movement the 6th of December 1979 as a junior official up in Parnell Square. So what happened maybe 79, 30 odd, a lot of years service anyway. I'm certainly pre-96, put it that way. But I can tell you one thing. How dare a company attack a sizable number of their staff who have given such long and loyal service to the company through thick and thin, who have built up customer bases, who have built up profits, massive profits in the billions. How dare they turn around and say those workers are the problem? Those workers have no longer, we no longer want those workers in this company. They're not flexible enough. They're overpaid. 14 euros an hour after 20 odd years service or 30 years service. They want to reduce it to 12 euros an hour. I mean, this is scandalous. This is scandalous in a company that has had a turnaround of 6 billion, that made 1 billion in profits last year. What sort of crony capitalism, what sort of vulture capitalism is in the mindsets of people who can get onto the radio, get onto the TV, stand in front of their shareholders and say, we believe that workers after 30 years are overpaid on €14 an hour. I can tell you, Tesco workers are not the problem. They want to look very close to the board where the problem is. That's where the problem is. The people... The people who made a mess of their venture into the United States of America. The people who sold the business in China for €1. The people who fiddled the books, who are now being fined and under investigation by the Parliamentary Committee in the UK. The people who walked away with millions of golden handshakes. The chief executive who paid himself $4.5 million for 6 weeks' work. 6 months' work. Maybe 6 weeks as well, but 6 months' work. Right? They're the problem, not the workers who've given loyal service. Not any Tesco worker, not any retail worker, not any retail worker in any company are not the problem. The problem is low pay, exploitation, 0-hour contracts, lack of respect, lack of a voice at work, and we're fighting all those evils. We continue to fight those evils now, today, tomorrow and every day. So, maybe finally, just before standing orders, I'll do another report and cut me short. I just wanted to say that every worker is behind a Tesco worker. Every worker is behind the Dunnes Stores workers. Every worker. This is not a specific issue to Tesco. But you can be sure that be it SuperValu, be it Marks and Spencer's, be it Primark, they look at people with service and say, God, we could get rid of them. We could get someone in for the minimum wage. You know, we could have someone working 5 over 7, 24/7, send them home when it's not too busy, etc., etc., etc. They don't want people with voices. They don't want people in unions. They won't want people that ask questions. They don't want people who say, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm entitled to my day off. No, I'm entitled to my double time. No, I'm entitled to my bank holiday. They don't want people to answer back. They want people who are workers who are scared, who are dependent on 0-hour contracts, who don't know how much wage they have from one start of the week to the next week. That's what they want. Well, they're not going to get it. And we want to take them on. We take them on in Dunnes. We take them on in Marks and Spencer's. We take them on in Wallace. We take them on in Argos. We take them on in Boots. And we're going to take them on in Tesco. And Mr. Tesco, I hope you're listening, because you're the problem and we're fighting back. Thank you.